Oh, this is Mr. Hornby 83. I am here with my Mr. Hornby 83 Top 10 Action Movie Fight Scenes. Now, before I start, these are not rated by critics. These are not rated by freaking people who, technically, these are my opinions of the best action movie fight scenes. Hulk. So anyway, let's start off. First off, Arnold Schwarzenegger versus Jesse Ventura and The Running Man. And the reason why this is at number 10 instead of higher up, because y'all know who Jesse the Body Ventura is. But pretty much this fight was pretty much in the movie considered a computer simulation fight. It was not an actual fight. It was just a computer simulation one. But it was still a pretty good fight, no matter if it was computer simulation or not. Alright, next up, Sylvester Stallone versus Jean-Claude Van Damme, Expendables 2. Now, the reason why I got this one at number 9, and 2, why it's on the list, because I grew up watching the 80s and 90s action movies, and I always dreamed of seeing either Arnold Schwarzenegger versus Sylvester Stallone in a movie, or Jean-Claude Van Damme versus Sylvester Stallone in a movie. Now, we did get Jean-Claude Van Damme versus Sylvester Stallone in the movie, which was Expendables 2, because Stallone was the main hero and Van Damme was the main villain. The reason why it's so far up, though, on the list, even for a big action 80s and 90s action movie fan like me, is because it was at the time where they're both a little older. I would have loved to see it in their prime, and if you can't get a Stallone-Schwarzenegger fight in a movie, at least you can get a Van Damme-Stallone fight in a movie. Next up, Vin Diesel and Fast 5, or was it Fast 6? I believe it was Fast 5. Vin Diesel versus Dwayne Johnson in Fast. Two of the current action hero stars, I guess you could say. They're both in the same movie franchise, and with the real life heat that's possibly going on with these two. Still, even after the Fate of the Furious, we thought it was settled. But, yeah, it was just amazing to see. The reason why it's higher up is because there's a better fight in this same franchise, which, with guys I care about more seeing a fight scene with than these two. Alright. Number 7. A lot of people are probably going to be happy with this one. Bruce Lee versus Chuck Norris in Way/Return of the Dragon. The reason why I say Way/Return is because when it first came out, it was called Way of the Dragon, but then when it was re-released, it was called Return of the Dragon. So, I mean, come on, two of the best action movie martial artists in current at that time, Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris. Reason why it's number 7 is because there's other fights that I like a lot better than this one, but if you want to see more of that fight, there's a video that's, a thing of Bruce Lee versus Chuck Norris to Mortal Kombat music. I forgot who does it, but, yeah. Alright, let's see. Next up, number 6. Steven Seagal versus Michael Jai White, or Jay White, however you want to say it. Exit Wounds. Throughout this whole movie, you thought Michael Jai White was the good guy like Steven Seagal, but he was really the main bad guy. And I was really hoping that turned out, and when I found out that was the case, I'm like, yes, that means they're going to fight. That means Steve Seagal and Michael Jai White is going to fight in this movie. Now, the reason why this one is at number 6 instead of somewhere in the top 5 or so is because it kind of, reenacts another fight in another Seagal movie that Seagal had with another, African American character, which I'll get to, which, may or may not be on this list. Alright. Alright. Number 5. Jean-Claude Van Damme versus Michael Jai White. Universal Soldiers, The Return, which is the 4th or 5th Universal Soldiers. A lot of people say, oh, it's Universal Soldiers too. No, there was a couple other Universal Soldiers before The Return. One had Gary Busey. I don't know who was in the other one. But having Michael Jai White and Jean-Claude Van Damme go at it, it was just an epic battle. And a lot of people probably like, well, why did you put Goldberg? Because I didn't want to see Goldberg take on Van Damme. I wanted to see Van Damme take on Michael Jai White as Seth. He was also Luke Devereaux in this, which I don't know how he got back to being human. They never explained it. I have no clue. Yeah. This was a very awesome fight. I was very glad to see this one. Next up, another Jean-Claude Van Damme fight. Jean-Claude, what is she doing?
Mother.
Yeah, I know, but I don't want them hearing that on me. Jean-Claude Van Damme versus... Oh, this is number 4, by the way, too. Jean-Claude Van Damme versus Bolo Yang or whatever. Bloodsport and Double Impact. Now, I couldn't pick between the fight in Bloodsport with this guy and the fight in Double Impact. Now, Bolan Yang, he's the guy that played, Chung Lee in Bloodsport. If you see my Facebook Live, you've seen how much I love him as a Van Damme movie villain. Every time they're in a movie together, it's always a good movie. But, his fight was very epic in Bloodsport with him. And then his fight in Double Impact was very epic as well. Really enjoyed this fight, and I wish they would have done more movies for them two fought. They might have, but I haven't got to see them yet. Anyway. Alright, number 3. Vin Diesel versus Jason Statham, Furious 7. I want to see this more than I want to see Dwayne Johnson versus freaking Statham. I want to see this way more than freaking Statham versus The Rock. I want to see this more than freaking my whole thing about freaking Furious 7. The reason why I called it the best Fast and Furious movie out of the bunch was just because of this fight scene. Now, yes, there are some emotional moments going on with, Paul White passed away after shooting this movie, or a little bit before. They had to use CG, or his brother filled in or something, but yeah. This was just an amazing fight, and, I was very glad to see it. Vin Diesel, Jason Statham. The 2 top action stars today. That's like seeing Schwarzenegger versus Stallone. Well, people will say, well, Rock versus Diesel was like seeing Schwarzenegger versus Stallone. You could say, like, Diesel versus, Statham is like Stallone, Van Damme, whatever. Anyway. Next up, now I had to change this one because I initially had something else here, but I changed it to this. This is the only sci-fi action movie fight I got on this. Actually, I should have put another one on here too, but anyway. Arnold Schwarzenegger versus Robert Patrick. Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Nothing's better than seeing 2 cybernetic beings go at it on live action and not have to deal with all that CGI nonsense and blah blah blah. Very good fight with these two. I mean, even though, if it was kind of a real fight, it'd be Robert Patrick against, it'd be Robert Patrick against, it'd be Robert Patrick probably getting his butt kicked by Schwarzenegger, but, it was an action movie fight. He was getting the best because he was the more powerful Terminator. So, that's number 2. Now for some honorable mentions. First off, let me get into Jason Statham, Jet Li, War. That was a very good battle. I really enjoyed watching that fight. I completely almost forgot about putting it on the list, but you know, that was a good movie. That was a good fight with them two. Because Jet Li's character finds out that Statham's character betrayed him and sold him out to the, Yakuza or Triads or whatever. So yeah. Next up, Jean-Claude Van Damme versus Dolph Lundgren, Universal Soldiers, the first one. These two had a pretty good chemistry together when they were fighting and everything, and that's something I should have mentioned with all the other guys. All these other guys that did all these other fight scenes have pretty good chemistry with each other in their fights. Very good chemistry. You had that hero-villain dynamic. Dolph Lundgren was a bigger, a little bit more muscular guy than freaking Van Damme in the movie, and, Alright, next up, Arnold Schwarzenegger versus Vernon Wells, Commando. Y'all know the story behind that. I don't think I really have to explain that one. It's like a big rivalry that started from when they were in the military together to the point where he was involved with his daughter being kidnapped and all that. So yeah, it's also a really good movie too. All these movies are pretty good, but Alright, next up. Actually, before I get to this one, I wanted to throw in one more, which is Dwayne Johnson versus Michael Clarke Duncan, Scorpion King. That was an amazing fight. The tension was building up. They had chemistry. Them two really disliked each other at first. All the banter between the two, the fight, everything was just awesome. Wish we would have got more Rock and, Michael Clarke Duncan in movies. But, of course, in the movie, The Rock, beat him. But if it was a real life fight, I think Clarke Duncan would beat him. Rock's gonna hate me for that. Alright, next up, Steve Seagal versus Basil Wallace. Steve Seagal is, Marked for Death. One of my favorite Steve Seagal movies ever. Marked for Death. I love this movie. Steve Seagal's best movie. And the fight scene that he had with Michael Jai White in Exit Wounds kind of resembled that, which, I talked about with Van Damme and trying to emulate some of his better movies, like freaking, like when he tried to emulate Bloodsport and Double Impact with garbage like freaking The Quest and another garbage movie called Replicant. That's pretty much it for that one. Alright. Honorable messenger out of the way. Let's get to number one. This might cause a lot of controversy. Sylvester Stallone versus Wesley Snipes in Demolition Man. One, the most, guy movie of guy movies. And I believe it was near my top 10 in my guy movies list I did earlier in this year. Just seeing Sylvester Stallone and, Wesley Snipes' styles, clashing well together. The whole, rivalry between the two. All the stuff, all the personal vendetta against, Phoenix against Spartan. It was just an amazing fight at the end. And in a way, Universal Soldiers, The Return kind of stole the same ending to this fight, or might have been inspired by that, because Van Damme kind of beats Jai White and Universal Soldiers to Return the same way that Stallone beats Wesley Snipes in this movie. And at the time, these two guys were in their prime. So yeah, that's my top 10 guy movies list. Let me know what you guys think about it. I'm going to do some shout outs and I'm going to end this video. Alright, shout outs to I'll go with Nostalgia Critic. I think his name's been getting kind of trash lately. His videos are still entertaining. I like watching every content they have on channel. Awesome. From the Orbit Report to the, top 5 to the Nostalgia Critic episodes. The Cinema Snob. is also a good one. Really like his videos as well. His take on some of these movies, very hilarious. Really like him. Birthday shout out to Cody Fleeger. I believe he's a Colts reporter, but he requests me as a friend on Facebook. And, I can always see Colts updates through him posting on Facebook. So, now my son, Black Ops Killer, he just recently did a freaking Fortnite Thanos video, which I'll probably put in the description like sometime over the weekend or something. Heavy Metal Turtle. And let's see. And for this is kind of a Facebook plug, but JC Sports on Facebook. JC does a lot of videos where he talks about sports and all that, so JC Sports on Sports Talk. That's pretty much it. Catch you guys tomorrow for the Facebook Live when I do, I guess, Kickboxer for the live. So check that out on Facebook tomorrow. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Hornby83, and peace out.